Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well, and it's time for our weekly track roundup, where I go over what I felt were the best and worst tracks of the week. And they're all linked down there in the description box. I shaved the mustache off my face. I look weird to myself because I've been rocking the mustache for so long. I don't recognize myself anymore. I don't recognize myself anymore. Anyway, all right, let's stop beating around the bush. Let's get into the tracks. First, of course, down there, our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links. Hit those up. Treat yourself. And I also want to shout out that there is some soundtrack music, almost like a random array of tracks. Blade Runner Blackout 2022 from Flying Lotus. He dropped a bunch of different tracks on SoundCloud this week, all in relation to this, so you can sample them down below. All right, let's get into the worst tracks of the week, starting off with this new song from the Chainsmokers over here, Everybody Hates Me, basically trying to make club music sound as emo as possible. Maybe in a way this is kind of a meta approach of just talking about how much people dislike the duo's music as of this point, but going to the club like everybody hates you, using the club as a place where you can just get all your sad feelings out. It's kind of corny. I can't really stand it, honestly. Probably one of their worst tracks in a while. I mean, before they were just kind of writing very bland pop with super shallow, manipulative stories, but now it's just like, God, just stop. Next, Rivers Cuomo has a track called "Medicine for Melancholy." Man, he is trying so hard to just like write the quintessential millennial pop song. Ever since that last Weezer record, and I guess what he's going to be doing with this solo project he most likely has coming out very soon based off of this song. It's got kind of a kitschy, I don't know, old school vocal pop vibe to it. Obviously, you're going to pick up on that aesthetic just on the album cover of this alone, but, of course you have some millennial woos and, background vocals and that sort of thing. And super glitzy instrumentation, very bland, very run-of-the-mill. I just don't quite see the appeal here, but keep at it, Rivers. As long as you come back every once in a while to something that sounds halfway decent. And oh god, this new Lil Dicky track, Freaky Friday. I mean, I guess it's not the most annoying Lil Dicky song, given that most of the track is pretty much just Chris Brown, but it's just the concept of the track. And I don't know, I feel like this song is just generally kind of gross. I feel like it just feeds off of this assumption and stereotype that Lil Dicky, because he's sort of not your average looking rapper, he's not your average rapper, he's not cool, he's not hip, he's not really that popular, nobody really takes him seriously. I mean, nobody really takes him seriously because his songs are essentially dick jokes. Not literally, but in the figurative sense. Anyway, that's why people don't really take Lil Dicky seriously. And then to sort of bring Chris Brown into the fold and have him sort of joking at one point about, hey, nobody's mad at me about my past anymore now that I've become Lil Dicky and we've swapped bodies and blah, 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 blah. It's a really kind of corny concept for a song. It's got a few chuckles, a few giggles in the music video, but it's not a track I would ever want to listen to by itself. Jesus Christ. It is not a track I would ever want to listen to by itself. Lil Dicky has essentially become the Lonely Island at this point. Maybe a little edgier, but he's not really much more serious than the Lonely Island on this song. I don't get why people sort of freak out about him or act like he's like the greatest thing to happen to hip-hop right now. Whatever. Moving on from there, tracks that I thought were just merely okay, but certainly wanted to mention it. Certainly wanted to mention them. All right. First off, this new track from Twin Shadow. This new song is titled Brace, featuring Rainsford. It's got kind of a futuristic soul kind of quality to it. Very uplifting, very triumphant instrumentation at some points on this track. Not one of my favorite songs he's ever done, but, you know, still not a bad track overall. Next, new Voidz song. They dropped a few new tracks this week, but the one that I'm talking about here is ALieNNationN. Probably one of the slower and more underwhelming singles they've dropped so far for this album cycle, but they've come out with so many freaking singles. They've gotten to the point where you're essentially putting out deep cuts now. You know what I mean? and almost treating them like single tracks. This track, again, it's not terrible. It's not the most exciting single they've dropped by far. But I'm sort of anticipating this is going to be a cut that grows on me a little more as I hear the entire album. Next, new rock Marciano. He has a new project. He's got a new track over here featuring Action Bronson, The Sauce, and the Corniche. Probably not pronouncing that correctly, but, you know, here, I'm slapping myself for you through the internet. But it's not a bad track. You know, it's got some chill, laid-back instrumentals, just like you expect from a rock song, and the Action Bronson feature is pretty decent. Moving on from there, Pearl Jam, Can't Deny Me. Actually, one of the most fiery singles the band has come out with in years. You know, they don't have quite the ferocity they used to back in the 90s, but still, it's actually not that bad of a single. It's pretty compelling tune, and Eddie Vedder, he's still got those pipes. He's still got those pipes. Next, enjoying this song from Ash Koosha. Not a bad track. AROHA? I hope that's how it's pronounced. The electronic music producer who I've covered on this channel a few times before is kind of heading in a different direction, it sounds like, with his newer material. He's actually coming through with the voice on this track, but the instrumentation, the production, it's pretty experimental. It's pretty odd. I don't know. I would say aesthetically it kind of feels like an art pop track, but he's doing something kind of weird, kind of out there. Maybe AROHA fans will be into it. I'll say that much. Maybe AROHA fans will be into what he's doing on this new track over here. Because, yeah, while there are tinges of art pop there, it seems like a little weirder, avant-garde, off the beaten path for it to just simply be categorized as that. And let's move on to the tracks that I thought were the best tracks of the week. We are blowing through this episode. All right, next, We Waste Time Faded, which is this, what the hell am I looking at here? Oh, yes, oh my God. The new scarlxrd track, Faded. Oh my God, this rapper is just fucking blowing my mind with this single. It's so edgy, it's so hard-hitting, it's so distorted. It kind of reminds me of some of those early 6ix9ine singles back when he was like a little bit darker and a little bit weirder and a little bit more experimental. And then he just sort of went into making this generic scream trap. Now, scarlxrd is sort of more on that experimental tip. And there's something about his style and just his musical aesthetic that kind of reminds me of nu metal a little bit. But I don't know, kind of just like, or maybe even like industrial rock. I'll say that, more industrial rock. If you can imagine like an industrial rock version of trap music, I feel like scarlxrd is doing it. And I kind of hope he continues doing it because it's like pretty fucking tough as nails. It's pretty exciting, honestly. Moving on from there, new N.E.R.D remix featuring Rihanna, the track Lemon. I like it. I think it's a fun remix. I think it's fun. Maybe some people think it's dumb, but I actually think it's a pretty fun remix. If you've heard the track Lemon before, which I hope you guys have, it's one of the best singles of last year. I hope you guys have heard that track. The Drake remix over here, it's not bad. It's fun. Moving on from there, Leon Bridges, who is an artist previously that I've never been super huge on. He's always dealt in the sounds of soul and blues and sometimes some older shades of rock music that I hear kind of getting picked up in his music. But this new single that he dropped over here, one of a couple tracks that he just recently dropped, Bet Ain't Worth the Hand, is one of the most emotionally striking songs that I have heard this year so far. I have ever heard from him. Like, from the chord progression to the song structure to his vocal melodies to the emotion in his vocal performance, this track is killer. This track is fucking awesome. This track holds so much weight. The passion on this song. Again, the dude has never really struck me down emotionally before, quite like this. And I'm really happy that it's finally happening. You know, to me, he always struck me as like kind of a bit of a, I don't know, almost like one of those revivalist acts that you can't really truly get into unless you're really like vying for a hit of nostalgia from the particular era of music that he's pulling from so hard. But I feel like he's almost transcending that now with how good this frickin' song is. Again, really one of his best tunes that I've ever heard. Moving on from there. Oh, Jean Grae and Quelle Chris. They come up again with a new single, banger alert. This one is titled Zero. Super grimy ass beat. Harder bars and deliveries on this track. Not quite as low key as a few of the recent songs they've dropped. I don't know, man. This just continues to be one of my most anticipated albums of the year. I love that these two are working together. I love that they're complementing each other. And the tracks are just coming out great. You know, if you're really into some left field alternative hip hop music that has a kind of quirky and an eclectic persona, then you're going to want to hear this. Hot Dad has a new single out, which is actually one of my favorite singles of his in a long time. If you're not familiar with Hot Dad, he is a producer, a songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist who creates these really tongue-in-cheek, funny, but also very smartly written and entertaining synth pop tunes that have a bit of a nostalgic factor to them. And a lot of them deal in the internet, and they have a sharp sense of humor. And this one is titled, Just Tell Me What Font to Pick When I'm Making Websites for Kids. And it's got like a weird little rap passage to it, too. It's easily one of his best written and most hilarious tracks he's ever done. I love how a lot of his tracks just sound like super weird, obscure Tim and Eric sketches that like never happened. I feel like you could make an entire sketch show around at least half of the man's discography. So I'm just really enjoying this new Hot Dad track. Shout out to Hot Dad. And this new Courtney Barnett song is fantastic. The music video is really fun and creative too. But this song is titled Need a Little Time. I love how her songwriting is just becoming more emotionally potent, more melodic. I've thought she's had a compelling voice before, but the whole long, drawn-out talk singing thing just really didn't do too much for me with her previous material. But the more tuneful tracks she's been delivering as of late for this new upcoming record have been great. I'm enjoying this one almost as much as the last single, which was sort of an attack on rape culture. This new one over here is much more, I guess, inspirational, at least from what I'm catching from some of the lyrics in the music video. But that is going to be it for this week's weekly track roundup, everybody. We did it. We made it. We did it. Thank you. Thank you. Again, all the artists, everything that I talked about in this video, it's linked down there below. Check it out. Listen to it for yourself. And I will see you guys in the next video. Okay? Anthony Fantano, Weekly Track Roundup.